Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive
Mm.
into some fascinating predictions about the future
Okay.
of workers' compensation.
All right.
And we're looking specifically at
Yeah.
this report called the 2025 Workers' Compensation Insurance Market Outlook.
Oh.
And one of the things that really caught my eye right off the bat was that even though insurers have had like a really good run lately,
Yeah.
things might be about to get more complicated.
Yeah, they've definitely had a long streak here of
Yeah.
profitability. The combined ratio has been averaging 91% from
Yeah.
2015 to 2023,
That's amazing.
which is basically means
Yeah.
insurers have been making good money.
Yeah, for sure.
And in 2023, it actually dropped even further to 88%.
So that means businesses have been paying less for workers' comp, right?
Exactly.
So there's all that about to change.
Well, that's what Fitch Ratings is predicting. They're saying this stability is ending, and insurers are starting to get a lot more cautious.
They're reassessing their reserves, which is usually a sign that they're kind of bracing for some changes.
That makes sense. So what's causing this shift? I mean, the report mentions inflation
Right.
as like a big factor.
Yep.
But can you kind of explain that a little bit more? Like, we all know that prices are going up,
Sure.
but how does that actually impact workers' comp?
Well, you've got to think about it in terms of both medical inflation and wage inflation.
Okay.
They both have a big impact on workers' comp costs.
So it's like a double whammy for businesses.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
tough situation.
Uh-huh.
So let's start with medical inflation. The cost of healthcare is just skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Employer-sponsored healthcare costs are expected to go up by something like 9% in 2025,
Wow.
which translates to over $16,000 per employee.
Ooh, that's a lot.
And it's not just a one-time thing. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services are saying healthcare spending is going to keep rising by like 5.4% each year
Yeah.
through 2028. Okay, those are some scary numbers. But I'm still a little fuzzy on how these general healthcare costs actually affect workers' comp. I mean, isn't that separate?
Well, not really, because when the overall cost of medical care goes up, so does the cost of treating workplace injuries.
Oh, I see.
And that directly impacts workers' comp claims costs.
So businesses are getting hit from both sides.
Yeah.
Higher healthcare costs overall, and then potentially even higher workers' comp claims if somebody gets hurt on the job.
Yeah, exactly.
Ouch. Okay, so that's medical inflation.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned wage inflation too. What's the connection there?
Well, we're in this really tight labor market.
Yeah,
So businesses are having to raise wages to attract and keep good employees.
which is a good thing.
Yeah, of course. But it does affect workers' comp because premiums are often calculated based on payroll.
Right.
So when wages go up, those premiums go up too.
It's like a chain reaction.
Kind of, yeah. So you can see why businesses really need to be aware of these trends
Yeah, for sure.
and start planning ahead.
Absolutely. Now, it's not all about just costs, right? I mean, the nature of workplace risks is evolving too.
Right, exactly. And one of the biggest shifts is how we're thinking about mental health in the workplace.
That's a really important point. This report talks about how 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness every year,
Yeah,
but only like a third of them actually get help,
that's right.
which is kind of wild when you think about it.
It's a big problem, and the National Safety Council found that both moderate and severe mental distress can increase the risk of workplace accidents.
Wow. That makes you wonder if ignoring mental health at work is actually making physical injuries more likely.
It's definitely something to consider, and we're seeing a lot of changes in workers' comp to address this. More and more states are expanding coverage to include mental health conditions that are related to work.
That's huge. So things like PTSD or anxiety disorders that are caused by the work environment.
Exactly. Those are now being recognized as legitimate workplace concerns in a lot of places.
Which is great, but I imagine it could also have some big cost implications for businesses.
Definitely something to be aware of.
Okay, so we've got inflation driving up costs and workers' comp expanding to cover more mental health conditions.
Mm-hmm.
What else should businesses be thinking about?
Well, there's the whole issue of marijuana legalization.
Ah, yes, the marijuana muddle.
It's a real headache.
It is, because it's still federally illegal, but then you have all these states legalizing it.
Yeah.
The Pew Research Center says 74% of Americans now live in a state where it's legal in some form.
Which creates all sorts of gray areas for workers' comp. Like, let's say an employee gets hurt on the job and they've used marijuana, legally or not.
Right.
Is that injury covered? It's a really tricky question.
It sounds like a recipe for a lot of confusion and legal battles.
Yeah, it's definitely adding to the complexity. And then on top of all that, we have this big generational shift happening in the
Oh,
workforce.
yeah, let's talk about that. We've got baby boomers working later in life
Mm,
and all these younger, less experienced workers coming in.
right.
That's going to create some unique
It
challenges.
really does. The Bureau of Labor Statistics is predicting a 96.5% increase in workers aged 75 and older over the next decade.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. So businesses need to be thinking about how to keep those experienced workers safe,
Yeah,
but they also need to make sure the younger workers are getting the training and support they need to avoid accidents.
a whole different ballgame.
It is.
Okay, so to recap, we've got inflation pushing up costs,
Right.
workers' comp expanding,
Mm-hmm.
the marijuana situation,
Yeah.
and this whole generational shift.
Yep.
It sounds like the workers' comp landscape is about to get a lot more choppy.
It definitely is.
Let's all take a deep breath and think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a minute to talk about what businesses can do to prepare for all this.
Sounds good. It's a lot to process, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But the good news is that this report also gives us some ideas about what businesses can do to get ready for all these changes.
Yeah, absolutely. They actually offer some pretty practical advice.
Okay, good, because I think we could all use some of that right now.
For sure. So one of the things they suggest is looking into loss-sensitive workers' comp programs.
Okay. Loss sensitive. Now, for those of us who aren't insurance experts,
Right.
can you explain what that even means?
Basically, it means that your premiums are tied more directly to your company's own claims experience.
Okay.
So if you have a really strong safety culture
Yeah.
and you don't have a lot of accidents, you could end up paying lower
So
premiums.
it's like a reward for businesses that are doing a good job with safety.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It encourages companies to really invest in safety and try to prevent accidents from happening in the first place.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about companies that maybe don't have such a great safety record? Are they just out of luck?
Not necessarily. Even companies that have had claims in the past can take steps to improve.
Okay.
And one of the most important things is safety training.
Right.
But I'm not talking about just like a boring annual PowerPoint.
Yeah.
It needs to be engaging, hands-on training that really gets through to employees.
And that's especially important now with so many different generations in the workforce.
Right. What works for somebody who's been doing the same job for 20 years might not work for a new hire.
Exactly. And this is where technology can come in handy, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are so many cool new tools out there,
Yeah.
like wearable safety tech.
Oh, I love that. Tell me more.
Well, there are smartwatches that can detect falls, sensors that can monitor for worker fatigue,
Wow.
even augmented reality tools that can help workers do complex tasks safely.
It's like having a virtual safety net for everyone.
Right. And all this tech can also help companies collect data and identify potential hazards before anyone gets hurt.
That's amazing. It's like turning data into a superpower.
Exactly. And we're seeing more and more AI being used to analyze all that data, predict risks, and even personalize safety training.
Wow, that's incredible. What else? I'm on a tech roll now.
Well, there are also digital solutions that can help streamline the claims process.
Okay, good. Yeah. Because nobody wants to deal with a ton of paperwork.
Nobody. It can make things so much faster and easier for everyone involved.
And that means injured workers can get the care they need more quickly.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got loss-sensitive programs, safety training, and tech solutions. Anything else?
Well, even with all of that, accidents can still happen.
Of course.
So it's important for businesses to have a good return-to-work program in place.
Right, to help injured employees get back to work safely.
Exactly. It's about finding ways to ease them back in, maybe with part-time hours or lighter duties,
Okay,
or even working from home if that's possible.
so it's really about working closely with employees to come up with a plan that works for everybody.
Yeah, communication is key throughout the whole process.
Absolutely. So this all sounds great in theory, but I know a lot of small businesses don't have big HR departments
Right.
or the resources to invest in fancy tech solutions. What about them?
That's where it's really important for businesses to understand their experience modification factor.
Okay, you've mentioned that before. Can you remind us what that is?
Sure. It's basically a number that shows how your company's safety record compares to other businesses in your industry.
Okay.
A lower number usually means you'll pay lower premiums.
So it's kind of like a safety report card for your business.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And even small changes in your mod can make a big difference in your costs.
Wow, I didn't realize that. So how can businesses find out what their mod is?
That's where your insurance broker or carrier can help. They can help you understand your mod and come up with strategies to improve it.
So having a good relationship with your insurance professional is really important.
It is. They can help you analyze your claims history, see where you might be able to improve, and develop a plan to create a safer workplace.
This is all really good advice. I'm feeling a lot more optimistic now.
Good. It's all about being proactive and taking steps to protect your business.
It seems like a lot of it comes back to taking care of your employees.
Yeah, for sure. And one really effective way to do that is through workplace wellness initiatives.
Okay, workplace wellness. We're talking about more than just gym memberships, right?
Yeah, it's a much more holistic approach.
Okay.
It's about addressing physical health, mental health, even financial wellness.
So things like stress management programs,
Yeah,
healthy eating workshops, even financial planning seminars.
exactly. And mental health resources are crucial too. Things like counseling, support groups, mindfulness apps.
It sounds like it's all about creating a culture where employees feel supported and empowered to take care of themselves.
And that leads to a happier, healthier, and more productive workforce.
It's a win-win for everyone. And again, it all comes back to communication,
Absolutely.
making sure employees understand safety procedures
Yeah.
and feeling comfortable speaking up about any concerns they have.
Right. That's so important.
It sounds like it's all about creating a real partnership between employers and employees,
Couldn't have said it better myself.
working together to create a safe and a healthy workplace.
Exactly.
So before we move on to the last part of our deep dive,
Oh.
is there anything else businesses should keep in mind as they try to navigate all these changes in workers' comp?
I think the most important thing is just to stay informed. The more you know about what's happening in this field,
Right.
the better prepared you'll be to make smart decisions for your business.
You know, it's really fascinating to see how much emphasis this report puts on the connection between employee well-being and a company's financial success.
Yeah, definitely. It goes beyond just, being a nice thing to do for your employees.
Right. It's not just about providing snacks and ping pong tables.
Exactly. It's really about viewing those workplace wellness initiatives as strategic investments.
Okay, so how does that work?
Yeah.
I mean, how do those programs actually translate into, dollars and cents?
Well, when you think about it, if you're proactively taking care of your employees' health and well-being, you're reducing the risk of workplace injuries and illnesses.
Which means fewer workers' comp claims.
Exactly. And that can have a ripple effect.
Okay,
Lower claims costs lead to a better experience modification factor.
that mod we were talking about.
Yeah, and that can mean lower premiums for your workers' comp insurance.
So healthier employees ultimately lead to a healthier bottom line.
Exactly. And then there are all the benefits you can't really measure.
Right, the soft stuff.
Yeah, like improved morale and engagement.
Yeah, when people feel valued and cared for, they're more likely to stick around.
Exactly. It all adds up to a more productive and successful workplace.
And once again, we're back to the importance of communication.
It's the golden thread that runs through all of this.
So what does that look like in the context of workers' comp?
It means being really clear about safety procedures, making sure employees know how to report any incidents or concerns,
Right?
and having open and honest conversations about return to work expectations.
It's about creating a culture where everyone feels safe speaking up.
Exactly. You want people to feel comfortable bringing any issues to their manager's attention without being afraid of repercussions.
Because nobody wants to work in an environment where they feel like they can't speak their mind.
And remember, those employees on the front lines,
Yeah.
they often have the best insights into potential hazards or areas for improvement.
So it's really about creating a partnership between employers and employees.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Working together to create a safe and healthy workplace.
Well said. So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've talked about rising costs, the changing nature of work, the marijuana issue, and so much more.
Yeah, the landscape is definitely shifting.
If you had to boil it all down to one key takeaway,
Okay.
what would it be?
I think the future of workers' compensation isn't just about managing risk.
Okay.
It's about investing in people.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, investing in your employees is an investment in the success of your business.
And it's about moving away from this idea that workers' comp is just an expense.
Yeah.
And seeing it as an opportunity to create a truly thriving and sustainable workplace.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
I agree.
But before we go, we want to leave you with something to think about. Knowing everything we've discussed today,
Yeah.
how will you prioritize your employees' well-being and safety in the years to come?
It's a question for all of us, whether you're a business owner, a manager, or an employee.
The future of work is in our hands.
Let's make it a good one.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the future of workers' compensation.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, stay safe and stay well, everyone.
Bye, everybody.